Call to order, St. Joseph City Council of Monday, November 20th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 2, public comments. Anybody wishing to address the council, please step forward. Seeing no one step forward, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Motion and second to approve the agenda. Any issues, changes, or anything? If none, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Item 4, consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second on consent agenda. Any issues or concerns? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. It is approved. Item 5. That's you, I think, Nate, isn't it?
It
Or
is.
is it not?
Yeah. So thank you, Mayor, Mayor, Council, for your consideration this evening. Per the direction of the council from the October 2nd meeting, the council directed staff to look at conditions 12 and 16 from the CUP resolution that was identified as 2023-042. This is for Cobland LLC, special event venue off Jade Road. The direction was to look at the conditions 12 and 16 and look to potentially bring that back through a revision process. So staff has worked with the applicant and connected with them on the concerns. There's 2 concerns. You can see both of them highlighted up on the screen here and also in your packet. The first concern was condition number 12, which required the applicant to match the accessory building with the principal structure. The applicant is asking to eliminate that condition from the original CUP resolution. And then condition 15 talked about hours of operation, and the applicant is asking to extend the hours, specifically if a holiday occurs on Monday through Wednesday, and then also extended hours on Sundays. So you see those revisions highlighted there. What that essentially means is those hours would then be 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Wednesday, 6 a.m. to midnight Thursday through Sunday, or if a holiday or holiday eve falls on Monday through Wednesday, then those operation hours follow the 6 a.m. to midnight. So 2 resolutions are attached and included in your packet. One is a clean copy of those revisions. The other is the copy showing the revisions in red and highlight. If the council does agree to these changes, then this resolution would essentially rescind the original resolution. With that, there's a finding of fact resolution that highlights those changes. And again, this is just being brought forward per the direction of the council at the October 2nd meeting. I'd be happy to answer questions. The applicant is also in attendance as well.
Councilors?
You said that if we okay this one, then what we had okay before goes away, or?
Yeah, so this would essentially be the CUP resolution that would govern the conditional use. The only changes are the ones that had been requested. The council can elect, of course, to not make any changes, make 1 or 2 of the changes, whichever direction the council would wish to go.
Okay, and so then I have a question for, so with that, I mean, you were able to look this over because the last time there was some discrepancies, and so I wanted to make sure that you have seen this copy and that you feel comfortable with all the changes.
Yes, we were able to sit with staff and come up with this
Okay.
specifically. Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I will move resolution 2023 to the table for a second.
A second.
Motion and second. Further discussion.
Yes.
Counselor?
So just in the whole understanding of CUPs and how often CUPs are revised, approved and then revised and revised again. I'm not following this. Why would we, let's just take these in two different parts. Number 12, the accessory structure, why would we go away from what the ordinance provides in terms of requiring that that structure looks the same as the main structure? I mean, I'm under the
That you
impression there needs to be like a hardship or something like, the reason they're asking for number 12 to be eliminated is because there's some hardship.
Yeah, so it's kind of a unique situation in the sense of the rural residential code and ordinance doesn't require the accessory building to match the principal structure. The planning commission recognized that, and the planning commission wanted to put that as a condition, given that the use is different than what is typically found in the rural residential district. So they wanted that to follow our standard residential districts, like our single family, and require that building to match.
And it's not. And he's just asking, and if you wanted to say anything on it.
Yeah, removing item 12 just allows us to adhere to rural residential versus bringing in different zoning from our understanding.
But it doesn't. I mean, rural residential district for the project that's going on out there is new to the RRD. So having number 12 in is compatible with what we would require for someone within the city.
So in our R1 single-family districts, we do require the accessory buildings to match the principal structure. The rural residential district does exempt a lot of the standards that are found in our normal residential. And one of those standards is matching the principal structure in materials. And then also, for instance, we require accessory buildings to be in the rear of the yard. In the rural residential, it doesn't have to be in the rear either. That's part of the exemption. And a lot of that is probably because when those properties were annexed with various different types of buildings and various locations of those buildings. So the code probably didn't want to create a lot of legal non-conforming structures with that.
But yeah, I understand that, but now we're going into new ground, new territory.
Yep.
This is a new commercial structure, event center happening out there, so it doesn't, I don't think we have to look back onto what was built before. We're trying to move forward. And so I just don't understand why this accessory structure wouldn't look the same as the rest of the property.
Cost. I mean, if you're looking at what we're looking at is called a mansard roof on the main building. That's a version of a flat roof with a steep pitch on the sides. In order to do that on a pole shed type accessory structure, it doesn't really work with pole framing. It doesn't, so you have to change how the pole structure is being built, and this is all coming from our architectural team. I'm not an expert on speaking on this. However, it would, from their estimate, almost double the cost of any type of an accessory structure to match that roof line, match the exterior ephes and stonework that's really going up there, when it is in general going to be, by latest site maps, 800 feet away and not in any sight line of each other. It becomes less consequential to have them look identical when they're nowhere near each other.
They're not one picture, it's two pictures.
Essentially,
Did Bob move the table?
Moved it, and then set on the table to get a second.
Yeah.
So we got a
I
motion.
got
we
no
got a-
problem with 12 being taken out of there.
I have no problem with it being removed either. As presented this evening, I would leave it as is.
So here are my comments. I think the planning commission did a pretty good job in that not only do we have this as a, kind of first time through the gates, but we also have an awful lot of rural residential that we don't want two types of building codes. And so the next rural residential may again be two different sets of building codes that's near to the city. And so I see the transition of, yeah, this makes sense, even though it's not part of rural residential, it could be easily rezoned as R1, blah, 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 C1, whatever, and that would comply. So I see, you know, the corridor on County 2 that's kind of rural residential as, do we want to establish two building codes? Or do we want to start to transition away from rural residential where we know it's being built up? So I think the planning commission was spot on when it says, hey, this place is being built out. We're gonna have homes to the south, homes to the east, blah, blah, down the road. I think they identified the fact that this tries to combine rural residential into a single building code that crosses the city, rural residential, non-rural residential, and starts to transition all rural residential where it's starting to abut the city into a single building code. And so I think number 12, we should, and I understand special circumstances by the amount of property in light of it, but I'd still, I side with the planning commission. I think they use good sense on this.
The thing that I'm confused with, so enlighten me in the sense of residential meaning home and garage, correct? And this is a business. And so, to my understanding, what they're requesting is that, yes, I agree, if it's a house in a garage or something that is close to the house, yes, I agree, they should look the same. However, this is not a home, this is a business, and this is something that, as we just heard, is costly. And so to be able to help the businesses that would possibly be coming into the area, that I don't agree with the commission in that sense, because they're saying it's a resident and it's not a resident. It's a business.
You plan to live on the place?
We have
Is
no-
there living quarters?
There are no living quarters. There
Okay.
was a decrepit home that we
Okay.
demolished and
Okay.
took off.
Nate, can you build a pole barn anywhere in the city? As a structure? I think we
I
can.
believe there are stipulations for hoop and tubular structures. I think they're banned in most, all the residential districts. I believe the rural residential might have a exemption to that. I'm not 100% certain though.
Yeah, so this structure is a pole building, right? I mean, it's gonna be a pole building?
We would hope it to be, yes.
Yeah. So that's another use that kind of conflicts with where we're transitioning to.
We want
But-
to be consistent.
And I get it. Everybody's gonna come in and say, I can't afford it. That's not, I get that. I do. And we do. I do want this business. I do. I'm looking at the transition, not now today, but 5 years from now when we have more built out and we're not using two different building codes, one rural residential, one next to the city. So, long-term, I think that's something we have to address, or planning commission has to address at some point to say, in close proximity, like Country Manor's right next door, which is a commercial business, and they follow the same building codes and structures and stuff. But there, I think in the city, R1 or whatever. So again, that's my concern, is that at some point, the city's gonna have to figure out how we convert single building codes to rural residential districts that are abutting city property. I just don't know. I'm not gonna die on this hill. I just think that's something planning commission has to start looking ahead at. Because we don't want obscure structures and obscure places and going forward. Yeah, Kevin.
So we got two requests here, number 12 and number 15, and right now we're talking about number 12.
Yeah.
And number 15 is gonna be a whole different conversation.
It is.
But focusing on number 12, I recommend that we keep it in as written for the reasons that you just said. And I understand the cost factor, I get that. But from my perspective, you've already invested a lot of your commitment to want to get the project done. And I just think it would be best if we kept if we were consistent with that ordinance.
I get it. So yeah, here's the conundrum behind two conditions and a single resolution, because they both should be voted on separately. But that's not how it's stated, right? It's either the old or the new.
So
And there's-
the council can vote on the new, but can state through the motion that, we, vote on the resolution 63, but with condition 12,
Yeah.
removed or added or whatever. So
Yeah.
you can make that motion.
Motion's already been made.
So we amend it?
You'd have to ask Bob to amend it. It's his motion. Or we can talk about 15 and just keep moving.
Let's talk about both. Then
I'm fine. And so those are my concerns about 12. Let's talk about 15. So what, my question on 15 is, what other holidays? I mean, what holiday, do we have a list of all the holidays somewhere besides federal holidays?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, from my understanding, it's federal that the applicant was seeking, but if they could clarify, Ken, if you can.
Yeah, we're just looking for anything that's declared federal holidays. We don't have any.
Not
of-
national holiday, state holiday, anything like that?
No, it's your typical Memorial,
12, 8
Fourth
or-
of July,
okay.
And the eve surrounding them.
Okay.
What federal workers or, government workers would receive as a day off.
Can we
use that
clarify
parameter.
that? What they
Yeah,
are
that's a
as
good point, yep.
language, just so
Yeah.
we're not confused that it's not Mother's Day
Yep.
or
Yep.
Father's Day or the Mayor's Day or, oh, they don't have one of those yet, do they?
Who celebrates that?
I do. Kevin?
So on holidays, this primarily is a wedding event center, yes?
Yes,
So is it conceivable that someone would want their wedding over the Thanksgiving holiday?
yes,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
very popular.
Thanksgiving is not listed in the United States 12 federal holidays. Would Christmas that week be potential for a wedding?
Absolutely.
Christmas is not listed in the 12 federal holidays.
My list shows that it is.
My list shows that it isn't.
Okay.
Well, let's iron that out right away.
So so what the applicant, and believe me, I want your business to succeed, it's just that you're coming back with changes 2 months after we passed it. We open,
Actually,
Yeah,
I
he brought it
requested
back.
this. I requested this. They didn't, I did. Because it was part of that we didn't conversate the first time around. So
So
this
in-
was mine.
so in that vein, if we take the 12 federal holidays that I found here, which is Labor Day, Columbus Day, Inauguration Day, Juneteenth, Washington's birthday, Martin Luther King, New Year's Day, then we add Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter,
Oh, those aren't holidays, are they?
I don't think Easter is.
we're opening up what originally was Monday through Thursday, stopping the activities at 10 PM to expanding it out to the 12 AM. So it's confusing to me. What's the
So-
definition of a holiday?
So I'm gonna answer that. So out on federal
So I
pay,
want that specified.
yeah, federalpay.org holidays, there's 12 of them. New Year's Day, Martin Luther King, Washington birthday, Memorial Day, Juneteenth, Independence Day, Labor Day, Columbus Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. Yeah, so you got, we're good. So, I don't know what site you're going to, but I update Google.
He's using Bing.
Okay, so are we good with that? So I'm good with that. I think just to clarify what exactly those federal holidays are.
Okay, so add federal in
Add
that.
that language
Okay.
somewhere. So we've talked about both, 12 and 15. The motion is to accept both. We're going to accept the condition on 15 for adding federal holiday language.
Okay.
Other discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify, sorry, there's motion and second, and this is, I don't know which one this is, 2342? No. Is it what it is? it a new one?
63 is the new one.
60.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2363,
Yeah,
2363. Motion and second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye.
Nay. Aye.
Motion succeeds. So, that's it with you guys. Oh, sorry. That's it with you guys. Which one are we on now? Number 6, sorry.
Can I clarify on the federal holidays? There's actually 18 of them,
No,
and 11 of them are considered public.
no, not federal holidays.
He just read them.
I just went to federal site and got them, Bob.
Yeah, well, I got it right here.
Easter on there? Okay, let's go.
All right.
Rezone request.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, for consideration this evening is a rezone request for parcel 13 Second Avenue Northwest. The request is to transition this from R3 multifamily, its existing zoning, to a B1 central business district. House of Hearn has submitted the rezone application. The applicant's intent is to build a commercial building on the space. The details of that are still being refined as the process is going through. The applicants have launched a website, synergystjoseph.com, to get feedback from the community on that ultimate vision. 2 likely scenarios would be a building with multiple tenant spaces or a building with a main user or anchor tenant. Likely you'll see if this is approved this evening, eventually a parking proposal and a potential variance from side yard setback would likely come forward to planning in the council. So when we look at rezones, kind of a busy graphic here, but that star right there is the applicant's property. So the existing zoning to the north and then to the west is also R3 multifamily. Across Second Avenue to the east is B1 Central Business District, and then to the south is R1 Single Family. This is the existing zoning. When we look at the future map and the future guidance taken from our comprehensive plan, we can kind of see the broader picture and scope of where our downtown central business district will encompass. You can see that goes further to the west than what the applicant's property is. So when we evaluate a rezone, the first step is to determine, if that rezone is in alignment with the future land use and guidance from the city, specifically the comprehensive plan, and make an evaluation based off of that. So staff sees this as meeting the intent of the vision since it matches our comprehensive plan and our future guidance. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing at their last meeting on the 13th, and they voted in favor 6-0 of the rezone. We did conduct that public hearing, and we did not receive any public comments except from the applicant who spoke at that meeting. The actions being requested this evening are the approval of the Finding of Fact Resolution 2023-064, the Ordinance Resolution 2023-011, and then the Ordinance Summary Publication 2023-065. So with that, we do also have the applicants in attendance this evening. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
What's the zoning of the barber shop to the north of this property? What is that zoned?
So that is currently also zoned R3 multifamily, so it's essentially a legal non-conforming
Okay.
use of that property.
All right, I just was curious about that. I move to approve the change.
Second.
Is that for the Finding of Fact resolution?
Oh, we're doing 3.
Whatever you want to get done, yeah.
We got
So
3
the first
actions.
is findings of fact,
Yep.
2023-064. There's a motion and second, on 2023-064 findings of fact resolution. Questions or concern? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And the next one is it the rezone or the ordinance?
It's the ordinance resolution 2023-011.
Which is a rezone. Which
What-
is a rezone, correct?
Yeah.
Move to approve?
I second.
Motion and second, 2023-11, the rezone. Any questions or concerns? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And then,
I move for approval of the ordinance of publication of 2023-065.
Second?
motion and second, 2023-65, establishing the rezone. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thanks, Nate. Thanks, you guys. Good luck. Zoning amendment, item 7.
Alrighty. So, for council's consideration, is a ordinance, amendment proposal. This is related to the landscape requirements in industrial zoned property. There's been no previous action, from the council on this. There was some comments that were brought up and concerns when the Gooden Company, project was going through the pipeline on just the quantities of trees and shrubs required. The Planning Commission has discussed these changes and options for the past 3 months or so. Looked at a variety of different language and verbiage, also looked at surrounding communities, standards, and then also communities outside of the surrounding area. The Planning Commission at their last meeting did vote 6-0 in favor of the drafted language that is in front of you this evening. And essentially what that drafted language does is it allows for some discretion administratively at the time of site plan review for industrial zoned properties. How that will play out is not too much different than how we apply it right now. We will still require a landscape plan to be submitted to the city. They still will show trees and shrubs on the site. However, they will have discretionary review with staff in the terms of some of the performance standards that we're looking for now with this new language is as long as we have trees and shrubs that are planted along perimeters of parking lots, along sides of lot lines, and then between buildings and streets or public right-of-way. Those will be the standards that they'll be held to, along with some other language that's also depicted in there. We're not getting rid of our screening requirements. We're still requiring some coniferous trees. This will likely play out in perhaps your larger structures where you have a 200,000 square foot building, 150,000 square foot building, and there's not maybe a lot of real estate to do all the trees and shrubs that are needed. So overall, the ordinance change does create some more flexibility and discretion at the time of administrative review for site plan. So for your consideration is ordinance amendment 2023-010, and then the summary publication 2023-068. But of course, with that, I'd be happy to answer questions.
Actually, to approve.
I second.
Motion and second, 2023-10 and 2023-68. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Motion, any questions or concerns? Anyone? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion does carry. So now we're down to number 8. You still on, Nate?
Yep, still on here. So this, yeah,
Nate, you wanna sit up here?
buckle up. It's the last one, and then I'm done. But we still have department reports, so maybe no guarantees. The last item here that I have is Mannion's conditional use permit that's being proposed. With Mannion's proposal, essentially Mannion's owns a 10-acre piece of property that's directly north of their existing operations. This map right here depicts in that yellow star all the properties that Mannion's owns. So this property would have direct access through the existing properties within Mannion's. The request is just outdoor storage. Outdoor storage is allowed through the CUP process. We do not have any records of any existing CUP, and that's just because the property was annexed into the city in 2019, so it's a pre-existing use. This is the site plan that's in your packets that shows the intended storage areas. The applicant's going to be storing lumber and shingles mostly within the site, similar to what they're storing, basically matching what they're storing to their property to the south. With the storage, there will be trucks coming and going from the site with some late evening and early morning deliveries. Their existing storage yard is enclosed by a chain link fence with barbed wire. Applicant is proposing to match that fencing. And the proposed surfacing material is going to be gravel, which also matches the existing. We do not need a variance on that gravel because no parking lots are being proposed. When it's a parking lot, then that would trigger a variance process. Our code does allow discretion on alternative surfacing for the storage yards. These are just pictures of the existing site, basically kind of what you'll see at the new site. Findings of facts, staff has prepared along with Planning Commission recommendation. We have various conditions tied to fencing, lighting, stormwater, and we'll kind of go through this in a few more slides. Access, surfacing, delineating those storage areas. And we also have some language tied to a future roadway corridor, so I'm gonna break that down a little bit. So in red circled on that depiction to the left is the subject property. The exact alignment for that connection going from Ridgewood Road to the future Westwood Parkway is really undetermined. We could have a connection going from Pearl Drive, which is the old industrial park, to the west, connecting up to Westwood. As far as other connections, it's going to be dependent on development and how it develops. We have a parcel called the Choke Cherries parcel right to the north. We could have a connection on the west side of Mannion's. We could have a connection on the east side. We could just see that Pearl Drive is a satisfactory connection. The challenge is with the connection on the eastern side of the property is there are some wetlands that are to the north and then also to the east. So if we had a connection on the east side of Mannion's, going further to the east is going to be basically a no-go because of the significant wetlands. Going to the north might be possible. It's going to depend on how the wetlands are delineated and what would be mitigated. The other possible loop around would be through the northeast corner of the Mannion's parcel, which Mannion's has proposed an infiltration basin in that corner. But again, it's dependent on how Choke Cherries develops and which one of those connections from Ridgewood to Westwood Parkway would be satisfactory. So the findings of facts, we don't have any conditions tied to hours of operation or screening. Again, applicants expecting to have minimum usage during late evening, early morning, just tied to pickups and truck deliveries. All the adjacent property is zoned rural residential but guided for industrial, according to our comprehensive plan, and there's no existing residential uses to the north of the site. Conditions of approval, I'll kind of breeze through this. The first one's template language tied to just meeting state and local requirements. Second one, applicant will need to submit a land disturbance permit and address all engineering and stormwater standards, and we've already been working through those through comments between our engineer and then the applicants. Lighting, we talk about lighting, just having full cutoff style and hooded lighting. And then a photometric plan needs to be submitted prior to the approval of the land disturbance permit. 4 storage areas, just clearly delineating that, which the applicant has already done and has been included as part of an exhibit to the resolution. 5, the outdoor storage is contained by that 7-link chain link fence with barbed wire. Typically, we wouldn't allow barbed wire, but given that this is a existing parcel to the south has chain link with barbed wire, it's basically a continuation of what they have existing. Number 6 just talks about our right to inspect the premises. 7, we talk about the gravel, and it's drafted to allow the gravel, just so that the applicant needs to be aware that any dust or anything that's part of that is controlled within the site and not blowing onto adjacent properties. Given that their storage area is going to be accessed through their existing parcel to the south, we don't envision any issues with tracking, and to date, we haven't had any issues with their current operations. Access, property doesn't directly abut a public street. It's provided through the properties to the south. We just have the condition that, that direct access to a public street needs to be maintained throughout the duration of that conditional use. The future roadway, we talk about essentially that northeast corner could be a potential corridor area. Again, that's going to depend on how the property develops to the north. And if it's shown that that connection is needed, the city is not responsible for any financial cost tied to relocation of that infiltration basin. Of course, we'd explore all options again for that roadway at the time of development. 10 just talks about amending the CUP, 11 revocation, and 12 expiration. The Plan Commission did recommend approval of the drafted resolution at their last meeting on the 13th. Public hearing was conducted and we did not receive any comments other than the applicant speaking. So with that, the action being requested is the approval of the finding of fact resolution 2023-067.
Is that
It's-
residential or is
It's
that
rural
industrial?
residential, but guided for light industrial.
Right, okay.
Yep.
I move that we approve for the finding of fact resolution 2023-067.
Second.
So, motion and second, resolution 2023-67. Any other further questions or concerns? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion does prevail. Are we done? Oh,
None with me.
Hey, 9. Anybody, department reports?
I was just going to remind you that we do have a workshop next week on Tuesday at 5:30, scheduled workshop, and we will be discussing budget and fee schedule. You'll see the draft fee schedule. Departments have been looking at different things in the budget to see if we can maybe find some areas to cut, and so we'll go through those next week as well. We'd have that public hearing for that on December 4th for all of those items.
Fee schedule. Did you want to?
Well, they do, but isn't that part of council reports? Are all the departments
Well, I
done?
thought you might want to say something. Yeah, what, Randy, you got anything? Ryan? Dwight? Kayla? Man, you guys are helpful. Way to pass the word. Way to be transparent.
Yeah, they're all here for moral support.
Yeah, okay. Item 10, mayor and council reports. I'm going to leave that one for you, okay?
Council reports?
Yeah, I'll leave this because it's on my report, but, okay. So we received an item from a resident living on Lanigan Way about needed crosswalk between Lanigan Way and the trail on the south. And it's county road jurisdiction, but I've asked staff to reach out to figure out what a solution might be. Same with, I think we'll have the same problem with the Rivers Bend property crossing over the same trail at a similar intersection. So we'll need to get the county involved in that, and staff has it on their plate. Got back from the CGMC Fall Conference, and the biggest topic by far was EMS, Emergency Medical Services. And it's really a kind of a complicated funding issue, but two committees were formed, and I think this is kind of funny, but two committees were formed from League of Minnesota Cities, CGMC, Fire Chiefs Association, EMT professionals, hospitals, and other groups related to EMS services. And the other group was a bunch of legislators. I'm serious. The first group is like, have all the knowledge and what's going on. And the second group was formed after the first group was formed. So anyway, they're gonna get together at some point, but I didn't realize how spendy EMS services in rural Minnesota is. It's a losing proposition. So it's definitely gonna see some legislation this time. Granite City Gymnastics is hosting open house this Saturday. We're doing a 12:45 and ribbon cutting, and the open house is from 1 to 3 that day. And offices are closed Thursday, Friday, right, correct? Correct. And Kevin has something he wants to bring up, I'm sure.
Oh, more than one. So I'll start with the In the Know newsletter that went out and residents received today. We had that work session meeting
Yeah.
about facility rental. How everyone's gonna have to pay the rent, even the ones that were exempted in the past. And so the newsletter says that it's gonna start in 2025. And I got a call from a.
Admit it, it's
Rick's
my
taking the
typo.
bullet.
I
No,
am.
I'm not pointing to you.
I know, but
I'm
it's
just
my
saying,
typo.
The resident that's a member of one of these groups that will now be charged said, hey, you know, that's really nice. Thank you for giving us a year to consider this change coming. And I said, well, I think we meant that to happen in 2024, but I'll bring it up tonight. So, the mayor and I talked about this prior to the meeting, and you felt we'll just send out another
Yeah,
letter
or something.
saying that we didn't mean to say 2025, we meant to say 2024. And I think we should just consider it, we're not talking about a lot of money here for the budget.
We're not.
Maybe we do want to consider having this start in 2025. So that's my one comment on that.
Okay.
My second comment, on November 9th, I graduated from the Metro Citizens Police Academy.
Woo-woo!
So when do you start working for Dwight?
You still didn't get a ticket book, did you?
And our chief bestowed on me the diploma. So,
We're looking
Oh, we
for a
should have
community service
ceremony
officer,
here or
right?
something.
yeah.
Oh, come on.
No, it was a great program, 10 weeks, learned a lot, and I would just encourage people from around the area. And I believe Representative Perry, you did it last year.
I did, and I got tased.
I opted not to be tased.
I would,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always volunteer to be tased
oh my God.
So,
for the last 12 years.
very rewarding, instructive on law enforcement.
Okay.
And,
Appreciate it. I have said that all legislators should take that.
yep. And so that was a rewarding experience. And then finally, as it relates to the YMCA, as we continue our fundraising, we are gonna have a meeting with the Sisters of St. Benedict's next Monday. It'll be myself, Patty Wetterling, and Carol Brees to meet with the prioress and the sub-prioress to talk about what we're doing. And what I learned in this process, with the help of Councilman Loso, is that all this land that we're on right now, the government center,
Oh, yeah.
Little Saints Academy, and where we want to build, was all Sisters of St. Benedict's property back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And in the 1960s, they either donated it to us or we bought it from them for $1 or something. So I just thought I'd report on that progress is
Good.
being made on the YMCA.
Very good. You know, your house used to be monastery.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
Used to be.
Don't get, anybody else? Kelly, you have anything? Adam? Bob, anything? Item 11, please.
Move to adjourn. Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Yeah, that whole.